The red dust swirled around Jay Park's battered survival suit, each breath becoming more difficult than the last. 3 solar cycles of survival had transformed the once confident research explorer into a weathered shadow of his former self. The alien planet's harsh landscape stretched before him, a maze of jagged rocks and crimson valleys that seemed to breathe with a menacing life of their own. His communication device had long since died, its fractured screen a silent reminder of the mission that had gone catastrophically wrong. The research vessel, the Horizon Explorer, was now nothing more than scattered debris across the planet's unforgiving terrain. Jay was the sole survivor, a fact that both haunted and driven him. Water was scarce. Food was a distant memory. The planet's predatory creatures had been circling closer with each passing hour, sensing his weakening condition. Sharp-edged reptilian hunters with multiple eyes and razor-like appendages moved in the distant shadows, waiting for their moment. Jay checked his oxygen levels, barely 12% remaining. His fingers, calloused and trembling, traced the small emergency beacon he had been saving as a last desperate hope. No rescue would come. No human would find him here in this forgotten corner of the galaxy. The ground beneath his feet suddenly trembled. At first he thought it was another geological shift, common on this unstable planet, but the vibration was different, rhythmic, controlled. Something was approaching. Through the swirling red dust a silhouette emerged, slim, almost ethereal, yet moving with a predatory grace that suggested immense power. As the figure drew closer, Jay realized it was not human, not even close to human. She was an alien. Tall and lean, with skin that seemed to shimmer and change color like living liquid. Her eyes, if they could be called eyes, were pools of shifting, colors moving between deep azure and burning amber. Multiple sensory organs lined her neck, pulsing with an inner light that suggested complex communication systems. The predatory creatures that had been stalking Jay suddenly froze, their multiple eyes locked onto the newcomer, a mix of fear and primitive recognition flooding their movements. They began to retreat, backing away with a silent, collective understanding. In a movement too fast for human perception, the alien produced a device. It was neither weapon nor tool, something in between, organic and mechanical, pulsing with an inner energy. A single gesture, and the surrounding predators dissolved into fine particles, vanishing as if they had never existed. Jay stood frozen. Survival instinct battled with scientific curiosity. Every muscle in his body screamed to run, to hide, to do something. But exhaustion and wonder held him in place. The alien approached, each step calculated and precise. She stopped exactly 3 meters from Jay, her gaze analyzing every detail of his battered form. When she spoke, the words formed directly in Jay's mind. No sound, just pure understanding. "Survival requires exchange," she said. The words were not a threat, not a promise, simply a statement of universal law. Jay's oxygen levels dropped 2%. His legs buckled and he felt himself falling. The last thing he saw was her extending a hand, not to catch him, but to observe his final moments with clinical precision. But instead of darkness, he felt a surge of energy. Something was stabilizing his suit, repairing critical systems. Nanoscale machines, invisible to the naked eye, were reconstructing his survival gear. "You live," the alien stated. Her voice in his mind was neutral, devoid of emotion. But survival comes with a price. As consciousness began to fade, Jay understood one thing. His journey was far from over. Whatever this alien wanted, whatever price she spoke of, would reshape everything he knew about survival, about humanity, about the vast and mysterious universe. The red dust continued to swirl. The alien stood motionless. And Jay Park, the last survivor of the Horizon Explorer, began a new chapter of an adventure he could never have imagined. Jay woke in a space that defied his understanding of physics and design. The walls seemed to breathe, shifting between solid metal and translucent membrane. Soft blue light pulsed around him, creating patterns that almost looked like living circuits. His alien rescuer, Hara, he now knew her name, sat nearby. She was not looking at him, but through him, her multicolored eyes scanning something invisible to human perception. Her fingers moved across a surface that appeared and disappeared with each touch. "You are conscious," she stated. It wasn't a question. Jay tried to move but found his body partially restrained by thin, flexible bands that seemed more like living tissue than mechanical restraints. They responded to his muscle movements, adjusting their grip with an organic intelligence. "What do you want?" Jay asked, his voice raspy from days of minimal communication. Hera's gaze shifted. "Survival requires exchange. In my culture, rescue is not charity. It is a complex transaction where life demands equivalent value." She activated a holographic display. Images flickered, scenes of planetary destruction, massive technological conflicts, and intricate social networks that looked more like biological systems than political structures. Jay realized these were glimpses of her civilization's history. "Humans are rare," Hera continued. "Adaptable, unpredictable. Your species has potential that most galactic civilizations underestimate." The restraints slowly dissolved, allowing Jay to sit up. His body felt different, stronger, more responsive. Small silver lines traced beneath his skin, suggesting some form of biological enhancement. "The price," Hera explained, "is not monetary. It is participation. You will become a bridge between your species and mine, learn our technologies, share human perspectives, help us understand survival strategies your people naturally possess." Jay understood this was not a request. It was a complex offer wrapped in a command. Holographic interfaces surrounded him, displaying complex data streams. Star charts, technological schematics, and what seemed like genetic analysis flickered in rapid succession. Jay realized he could understand fragments, not through translation but through some form of direct neural connection. "Your mission was research," Hera said. "You were studying planetary colonization potential. Now you will research something far more important: interspecies survival." She explained her civilization faced an existential threat. A machine collective was slowly consuming organic civilizations across multiple star systems. Traditional defense strategies had failed. They needed something different, something human. "Humans adapt," she stated. "Where our algorithms calculate, your species improvises. Where we see limitations, you see opportunities." The room continued to shift. Walls became transparent, revealing a landscape that was neither inside nor outside, a space that existed between dimensions. Massive structures moved in the distance, looking like living machines. Jay noticed small details about Hera. Her skin changed color based on emotional states. Right now, it shifted between deep blue and soft green, suggesting a complex mix of caution and curiosity. Her sensory organs pulsed with a rhythm that suggested continuous information processing. "You have two choices," Hara said. "Accept our terms and become our strategic partner, or refuse and be returned to your dying planet with no additional support." The choice wasn't really a choice, it was a carefully constructed path with only one logical conclusion. "And if I refuse?" Jay asked, knowing the answer. "Refusal means certain death," she responded. "Acceptance means potential survival. Not just for you, but potentially for your entire species." The holographic displays intensified. Complex mathematical equations, biological simulations, and strategic models surrounded Jay. He understood this was more than a personal negotiation. This was a potential turning point for human-alien relations. Hera waited. Her multicolored eyes continued scanning, analyzing, processing. Jay took a deep breath. His decision would change everything. The training facility was unlike anything Jay had ever experienced. Walls shifted like living membranes, creating environments that transformed faster than human perception could track. One moment he stood in a desert landscape. The next, he was surrounded by an underwater ecosystem that defied Earth's biological understanding. Hera watched his progress with a clinical eye. Her people didn't teach. They uploaded. Knowledge transferred through complex neural interfaces that merged direct experience with instantaneous understanding. Jay's human brain struggled, then adapted. Survival is not about strength, Hera explained during their 10th training cycle. It is about understanding, flexibility, reading systems, before they become threats. She demonstrated a combat technique that was more like a dance than fighting. Her body moved in impossible angles, breaking physical laws that Jay thought were universal. When she touched a holographic projection, it shattered and reconstructed, itself based on her molecular intention. Jay's human adaptability became his greatest weapon. Where Hera's civilization saw rigid protocols, he saw opportunities. Their neural interfaces were designed for perfect, predictable responses. His brain created unexpected solutions. During one simulation, a complex technological threat appeared. A swarm of adaptive machine intelligences designed to consume organic matter. The standard alien defense protocol suggested mathematically precise counter-strategies. Jay's approach was different. He noticed a subtle frequency in the machine swarm's communication. Instead of fighting, he introduced a disruptive pattern, not by force but by mimicking and then slightly altering their communication rhythm. The entire machine collective became confused, then collapsed. Hera's skin shifted from its usual blue to a shocked emerald green. "Impossible," she muttered. But it had happened. The training continued. Jay learned to read molecular structures with a glance. He understood complex gravitational systems that could bend space. His neural implants, a gift from Hera's civilization, allowed him to process information at speeds that would have killed a normal human brain. But the learning wasn't one-sided. Hera became fascinated by human unpredictability. Jay would solve problems by breaking rules, by seeing connections that her highly logical civilization missed. He told stories of human history, of survival, of pushing beyond known limitations. "Your species survived multiple planetary challenges," Hera observed. "You transformed environments. You adapted when logic suggested extinction. Their training room became a laboratory of mutual understanding." Jay learned to control energy fields with a thought. Hera studied his decision-making processes, recording how a human brain created solutions outside mathematical predictions. The Void Collective. The machine civilization that threatened both their worlds became a constant background threat. Every training session, every learned skill, was preparation for a potential galactic conflict. Jay's body changed. Silver neural networks traced beneath his skin. His muscles could now respond to threats faster than traditional human reflexes. But more importantly, his mind had expanded. He could think in multiple dimensions, understand complex systems that previous human scientists would have considered magical. "You are becoming something new," Hera said during one training session. Her voice carried a tone that might have been pride, if her species understood such an emotion. The facility continued its transformations. One moment, they trained in zero gravity. The next, they were surrounded by molecular structures that responded to thought. Jay learned to see beyond physical limitations, to understand that reality was more fluid than his previous scientific training had suggested. His human background, a mix of scientific training and natural curiosity, became his greatest asset. Where Hera's civilization saw problems as mathematical equations, Jay saw living, breathing systems that could be nudged, not just solved. As another training cycle completed, Jay realized he was no longer just human. He was becoming something else, a bridge between species, a potential savior for civilizations facing extinction. The Void Collective was coming, and he was preparing to meet them in ways no one could predict. The first warning came as a subtle disruption in the quantum communication network. A tiny ripple, almost undetectable, but Jay recognized it immediately. The Void Collective was approaching. Massive electromagnetic storms began to gather at the edge of their star system. Dark clouds of artificial intelligence swirled like living hurricanes, consuming everything in their path. Planets became digital dust. Entire civilizations disappeared in moments. Hara's people had advanced technology, but they were few, precise, calculated. The Void Collective was different, a machine intelligence that consumed and transformed, turning organic matter into computational resources. They are not alive, Hara explained, her skin turning a deep, metallic gray. They are pure calculation, no emotion, no mercy. Jay studied the incoming threat. Where others saw an unstoppable force, he saw a complex system with potential weaknesses. His human brain, now enhanced with alien neural networks, processed information differently. The Defense Council gathered. Alien representatives from multiple star systems watched with growing fear. Their traditional defense protocols had failed repeatedly. The Void Collective adapted faster than any known intelligence. Jay stood at the center of the holographic display. Streams of data flickered around him like living light. He began to explain his strategy, not through words but through a complex neural projection that showed potential intervention points. His plan was beautifully simple and completely insane. Instead of fighting the Void Collective's massive computational power, he would introduce biological uncertainty, random patterns, emotional complexity that machine intelligence couldn't predict. Humans are chaotic, he explained. We don't follow perfect rules. We improvise. The Alien Defense Council looked confused. Hara watched with intense concentration, her sensory organs pulsing with rapid information processing. Jay developed a neural disruption protocol that combined alien technology with human unpredictability. Small nanomachines would infiltrate the Void Collective's communication network, introducing subtle emotional algorithms derived from human psychological patterns. The first test came quickly. A small Void Collective scout group approached their defensive perimeter. Traditional defense systems prepared for direct confrontation. Jay's strategy was different. The nanomachines introduced complex emotional subroutines, confusion, doubt, a sense of existential uncertainty. The machine intelligence, designed for pure calculation, began to slow. Its perfect computational systems became confused by inputs that didn't match logical patterns. One by one, the machine units began to collapse, not destroyed, transformed. Hera's skin shifted to a vibrant green, the color of potential and surprise. Impossible, she whispered. But it was happening. The Defense Council watched in shock. Jay had done what generations of advanced civilizations could not. He had found a way to interrupt the Void Collective's perfect computational system. Large sections of the machine collective began to fragment. Their massive computational networks became confused, introducing errors that spread like a biological virus. Emotions are a weapon, Jay explained, not weakness. Complexity is strength. The battle wasn't just technological, it was a confrontation between pure calculation and organic complexity. Human unpredictability became the ultimate defense mechanism. Massive machine structures began to dissolve. Where they expected perfect resistance, they encountered something they couldn't understand. Human creativity. Each nanomachine carried a piece of human potential, a spark of unpredictability that the Void Collective couldn't process. Hera moved closer to Jay. Her sensory organs indicated a mix of emotions: respect, surprise, a growing understanding of human potential. You changed the equation, she said. Jay smiled. The first wave of the Void Collective was breaking, not through massive force but through the introduction of something machines could never fully understand: human spirit. The electromagnetic storms began to clear. Planets that were moments away from complete digital conversion started to stabilize. The Void Collective's perfect system had encountered its first true challenge. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology. It was the ability to be wonderfully, dangerously unpredictable. The aftermath of the battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Shattered machine structures drifted like broken glass across star systems. The Void Collective's perfect computational network lay in fragments, defeated by something no algorithm could predict. Jay stood on the observation deck, watching the cosmic debris. His body had changed more than anyone could have imagined. Silver, neural networks traced beneath his skin, a living testament to his transformation. He was no longer just human, no longer just a researcher. He had become something entirely new. Hera approached silently. Her skin shifted between colors, blue of reflection, green of potential, silver of transformation. "We miscalculated," she said. It was the closest her species could come to admitting they were wrong. The rescue that had happened solar cycles ago now seemed like a distant memory. What began as a simple survival exchange had become a galactic turning point. Humans were no longer seen as a minor species. They were now considered a critical component of universal survival. Communication networks across multiple star systems buzzed with the story. A single human, enhanced but not controlled, had found a way to defeat an enemy that had consumed thousands of civilizations. Not through superior technology, but through pure human unpredictability. Jay's neural interface allowed him to see beyond physical limitations. He could read molecular structures, understand complex gravitational systems, and process information at speeds that would have killed a normal human brain. But more importantly, he retained something machines could never copy: human creativity. The Defense Council from multiple alien civilizations gathered. Where they once looked down on humans, they now studied Jay with intense curiosity. He had become a bridge between biological and technological existence. "Survival is not about perfect systems," Jay explained during a universal transmission. "It's about adaptation, about finding opportunities where others see only limitations." His strategy against the Void Collective was now being studied as a fundamental approach to complex problem-solving. Universities across star systems began developing courses based on human adaptive thinking. Hera watched as Jay addressed the gathered representatives. Her people had rescued him, expecting a simple transaction. Instead, they had unleashed something far more profound, a new way of understanding survival. The transformation wasn't just technological, it was philosophical. Alien civilizations began to understand that perfection was a limitation. Chaos could be a strength. Unpredictability a weapon more powerful than any computational system. Jay's neural networks continued to evolve. He could communicate without words, understand complex systems with a single thought. But he never lost the core of his human identity, the ability to feel, to imagine, to dream beyond logical boundaries. Remnants of the Void Collective still existed in distant star systems, but they were no longer a unified threat. Jay's intervention had introduced a fundamental weakness: the ability to question, to doubt, to experience something beyond pure calculation. The observation deck became a symbol of transformation. Where once alien civilizations saw humans as a young, primitive species, they now recognized them as a critical element of universal survival. "We are not just saving ourselves," Jay told Hera. "We are creating a new way of understanding existence." His body continued to change. Silver networks expanded, creating a living bridge between biological and technological existence. But his core remained human, curious, passionate, willing to take risks that no perfect system would consider. The galaxy had changed, and it was just the beginning. Hera's skin shifted to a color that didn't exist in any known spectrum, a mix of potential, transformation, and something entirely new. She understood now what her people had missed for generations. Survival was not about perfection, it was about adaptation, about being willing to break every rule to create something better. As cosmic debris continued to drift, Jay looked out at the universe. What once seemed like an endless, dangerous unknown now looked like a canvas of infinite possibility. The price of his rescue had been paid, but the real journey was just beginning.